Are you just going to start the video and not say nothing? Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man, I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. As you guys know, we got the American Cup rolling. So we do have the losers bracket quarterfinal between Wesley So and Levon Aronian. This is the last and final game. Just got over, homie. So you're going to get a chance to see who put it down. We're going to see if Levon Aronian's shirt is hypnotizing or what. All my people in the Philippines, I will say, Maraming salamat. Anybody who is coming from Armenia, I will say, merci. If you guys are ready to go, man, let's take a look and see what we got for this game. All right, man, so we got to move D4. Knight goes to F6. Probably 80% of the time you see D4, you will see Knight F6. We got C4, E6. Knight goes to C3, and this is inviting the Nimzo Indian if Aronian wants to play it, but we do not see that. We just see the typical Queen's Gambit decline with D5. We got pawn taking D5, and we have the Queen's Gambit decline. This is the exchange. You know, some of the kind of ideas that White has is just kind of like, you know, making sure kind of things are simplified a little bit. And kind of with all the different types of openings, when you go into the exchange, usually your goal is to kind of simplify the situation a little bit and, you know, kind of make it a little bit less dynamic. So, like I said, pawn takes, and then we have pawn taking, and it does simplify things a little bit, but the ideas are largely the same. We do see the move bishop to G5. So for those of you that aren't familiar with these openings, you know, there is a really huge fight on these two squares. Especially White wants to try at some point, hopefully, to go the move E4. So it's beneficial when this pawn is away from here because usually you can kind of push that. So this bishop is pinning this knight down to the queen. So it is making E4 more playable. But Black just basically says, hey, man, I see what you're doing. I'm going to pretty much do the opposite. So I call your bishop G5. So things are fairly even. You know, neither side is really super controlling either of these squares. So that's how the players want it. We do see the move E3. We got H6 trying to break that pin. We maintain the pin with bishop to H4. We got G5 ultimately breaking the pin. Now, the only thing about the situation is you do kind of have to fling both of these pawns forward. So it can be a little bit of an issue if you castle kingside, but we do not see that. We got bishop down to G3. We got the move H5. And we are just going all in. We're like, hey, bro, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And then what are you going to do with your bishop? But we do have an escape square on E5. So everything is everything. We got queen going to A4 with check. It does force the move knight to C6. There isn't anything better. You are threatening this bishop here on B4. So you kind of have to protect it with knight to C6. It's pretty much your only option. If you play something different, then you will be just losing the game. So don't do that. We do see bishop to B5 trying to pin the knight down so we can go queen to B4, trying to push this idea home. We got bishop to D7 covering that pin. Knight goes to E2. Then we do see the move knight to E4. So knight to E4 is putting a considerable amount of pressure on knight to C3. And it's also hitting this bishop over here on a good day. We got the move F3, knight takes G3, and then we see pawn taking G3. And some of you guys probably might be sitting there thinking, wait a minute. When you take knight takes G3, like, I mean, I'm not really worried about this here because the pawn's going to take back. Can I just go ahead and go knight takes G3 and like I'm preserving my structure? H takes G3 doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. So if we did go ahead and do that, knight taking G3, you would be looking at the bishop taking here with check. The pawn would be taking. The main reason why this is not super desirable is because of where these pawns are sitting on the king side. We would be looking at H4, a very dynamic move, knocking you back to F1. And then we do see the move G4. And, I mean, Black is really kind of trying to break this situation open. The king is stuck in the center of the board. This queen is mobile. This rook can slide over type stuff. So, because of this exact situation, that is why you do not see knight takes G3 and just H takes G3. But most situations are probably going to be favorable for you to go knight takes G3. So pawn takes G3. We got bishop backing up to D6, which is the novelty of the game. And it might kind of seem like it just completely throws this pawn right here, just gives up this pawn for free because we have now unpinned the knight and we can just take it, right? But we'll get into that in a second. What we see in the game is queen to B3, which makes a lot of logical sense. Now you are trying to just basically make it where you're going to take this pawn off the board. But Black seems to kind of be just in time with their threats. We do see a6. You got to do something with the bishop now. Bishop goes back to d3. Knight goes to b4. And it is attacking this now undefended bishop. The bishop drops back to b1. And then we do see bishop to e6. And you can see that black is just in time to make sure that now this d5 pawn is good to go. Now, going back in the position, after we saw bishop to d6. Like I said, some of you guys might be like, wait a minute, man. You know, like, why don't I, you know, play knight takes d5? Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, a6, bishop goes back. Like, I'm good, right? Well, black just really just kind of has too much tempo gaining ability. The knight would take d5, which the computer considers this a blunder. We got a6, so it wants you to go back to c4. You can also go back to d3. But after we see bishop to d3, we'll be looking at knight to b4. It's kind of the same idea as you guys saw a second ago. The problem is now you are hitting this bishop, but you also are hitting this queen with this bishop. So pretty much your best option is either go back to d3 or go back to d1. So that is not really where you want to be. You got to be careful about these discoveries that can happen on your queen. So this is actually pretty nasty. So going back to what we had in the game, like I said, we did see knight to b4. We got bishop back to b1. We got bishop to e6. And everything is kind of everything. Black is just in time to make sure that they are protecting everything. We do see the move g4. We got c5. We got the move a3. And this is actually pretty instructive. So for some of you guys that are playing games, you know, as soon as you attack, or as soon as one of your pieces is attacked, kind of just hold on for a second and kind of look and see like, okay, I am attacked. I know this. But is there some type of Zwischenzug move, or as we know, an in-between move that I can place on the opponent before I have to move? So usually those are like a check or you hit the queen. So Levon Aronian is sitting here recognizing, hey, man, I got my knight here. But is there something I can kind of do before I have to move my knight? And that move is c4. You are now hitting the queen. So, of course, if you go into like just trades, pawn takes, this would absolutely not be even because now you just lost your queen. So you don't want to do that. So like I'm telling you guys a second ago, when you are attacked, kind of just, you know, take a breath real quick and look at the position and see if there's any kind of counterattack that you can place on your opponent, because c4 would probably come to mind. We do see queen going back to d1. We got knight going back to c6. We got the move e4. And then we have queen going down to a5. And this is pinning this knight to the king, kind of similar to like Scandinavian type stuff. And it also covers d5, so you don't really have any force going on here as well. So we do see the move queen to d2, and this does unpin along that diagonal to the king. We got castles by black. Pawn takes d5, bishop takes d5, knight takes d5, queen takes d5. So queen to a5 was very beneficial to make sure that we can just take back on d5. We do see bishop to e4, and white is actually in a really, really dominant position. Basically, the reason that white is in such a good position is these pawns are a little bit loose. Yes, you did castle on this side of the board, so it's better to push those pawns over there. But the white king has not committed itself to this part of the board, which these pawns would actually be benefiting black as far as trying to get an attack rolling, open some lines. But we do not see that. The queen goes over to b5. We got bishop taking c6, queen taking c6. And then we see pawn taking h5. And white is actually just up a pawn. Now, black has a plan, though. They're not just sitting there saying, hey, man, I'm going to go ahead and just take it. I got a plan. G4 is a really nice move. It is threatening just to basically kind of rip everything open. Like I told you guys before, white's king is stuck in the center of the board. So ripping the position open, trying to uncover the king is definitely beneficial. These rooks can definitely come to light. We got queen going to g5, very specific reason why we're playing that. The pawn takes on f3, and then we do see queen to f5 check, and we are preparing to take back this pawn right here with the queen. After the king slides over, we do see queen taking on f3, and this is encouraging a trade. The position is a little bit different. It was definitely much better a couple of moves ago, but you are up some material here. So from a human perspective, it looks like it's really great. Like queen takes here, pawn takes. And I mean, I don't think there's really any humans out there that's going to look and say, well, okay, I feel like I'm just barely better than black because you're up a pawn. Like I said, though, black does have a plan. They are going to be going after this lonely pawn over here. And Aronian does that immediately with the rook to h6. We do see king to d2. We got the rook d to h8. We do see rook a to g1. Rook takes on h5. Rook takes h5. Rook takes h5. And it is actually in this position that Wesley So actually runs out of time. He has like 6 or 7 seconds at this point in this position. And unfortunately, he sits there. He's not really completely aware of his time. And his flag does fall. Now, he does make this move here. And it registers the move, but it basically is a move that he kind of makes at like 0 seconds. And the move is king to c3. Very logical. I mean, you know, black has this, you know, lonely pawn right here, so you can definitely go that. It is a little bit better to probably go after this pawn right here, because after you see king to c3, you know, possible continuation would be b5. Obviously, I mean, you're going to go b5 because there's no other way to protect your pawn. So we would probably be seeing that. The rook will come up here and check, possibly king goes to c7, and then the king would come back down, you know. Making these types of movements coming up here, trying to see if we can go after this pawn, is going to be pretty beneficial for white. The unfortunate thing is, as we're kind of moving up, black is definitely going to go down here to h2, and they're going to be trying to attack here. So, you know, you really don't want to move your king and your knight because you're just going to be dropping these pawns over here, and black has a majority on this side. So it's not absolutely the best thing that's going to happen. You're pretty much super even at this point. So yes, I realize I did forget the guess the move portion. I don't know where I would have put that at though. In this game, I don't really know where I would have put the position, because I mean this is automatic knight to c6 type situation. Maybe it would have been probably at this point here. Maybe you could have been like, you know, I could have got some of y'all. I'm playing knight takes g3, which I mean it wouldn't have been a bad move. It just wouldn't have been the absolute best move to play. You know, that's what makes chess kind of difficult. Sometimes you have laws, kind of rules, like, you know, you don't really necessarily want double pawns. It does follow like capturing into the center type situation, but, you know, I think a lot of players would be like, well, I don't want double pawns though. And I mean, I used to be one that would like pretty much like avoid double pawns at all costs, but sometimes double pawns can be beneficial, and sometimes they're actually very easy to get rid of. So you don't go into like an in-game like playing like a really bad move. All right, I appreciate everybody very much for stopping by. Maraming salamat ng king magkaibigan. Post na nanonood ng king ma video. Maging dakila. Mabuting pagbati to you. Ingat lagi. I will say inch beses to anybody coming from Armenia, because Levon Aronian is originally from Armenia. I appreciate you guys. Merci. Vog Juven. And I'm going to see you guys next time.